and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Universal Lens. It does feel weird without my headphones on. This is John Emilio. This is a new setup. We're trying something new. You'll see two picture frames. Anthony's right here to our left. We have a separate camera. After much deliberation of figuring out how to make this work. And as always, Henry's to my right. So thank you, everybody, for coming back. And let's do what we do. New setup.
Yeah.
Same old.
Yeah, unfortunately, they missed our other one. We had one before this a few days ago.
Yes.
A week ago.
Yeah, we did, but
and it was pretty good.
It was good.
Pretty good. I thought the technical difficulties kind of.
That's why we had to do it again.
The topic was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, we had a beautiful episode. I thought it would have been great, but you know.
Well, unfortunately, we tried to make it work and we couldn't, and we realized with three people, we have to take our turns speaking, or else we end up cutting each other out. Yeah. So there was a lot of like that. I heard a lot of that.
Really?
So, really.
Oh, it cuts it out when you talk over someone.
So yeah, if we're talking at each other like consistently, what it does is the feed starts chirping a lot, like cutting out. And unless you have really, really, really good software, which I'm not an audio tech guy. I mean, you could probably work with that, but you'd have to like break the sound apart. It gets very in detailed.
Right.
But for what we use with Riverside and their technology, like they really don't clear that out. But anyway, so.
Well, I said last video didn't come out, but big welcome to anybody that came over from Scott Adams. Scott is huge in the social media in the world in general. I mean, the guy's amazing. But for anybody that saw me posting comments there and came over and checking us out, thank you for coming over. Again, on just this one sliver of a topic, that is when Scott Adams mentioned get out of your mind. Like he mentioned something called get out of your mind. For those people that are having the rumination or the intrusive thoughts, Scott came at it from a get out of your mind point of view. And then somebody had mentioned this is actually mindfulness. And I said, okay, now hey, we're entering into our realm. So I posted there, it's like, hey, check us out. We do a weekly podcast. And I put our link, if I'm not mistaken. I might have put our YouTube link, and then I put, hashtag the Universal Lens. Yeah, so we might get some people that have come over, or at least checking us out, from that world. And Scott Adams and us. I mean, we mentioned Scott Adams a lot on the program, right?
Yeah, we have since the beginning.
He's an incredible, mind, and that's what really, what attracts me to his content. Aside from you understand the person, too. Anyway, so when he said, just say the word, get out of my mind, right? Because it's somebody who is stuck in a certain thought. And that's usually what tends to happen to us is that, we have a thought that enters our mind or some sort of vision, and we kind of stay, let's say, latched onto that thought, and then we interpret that thought is reality. Is us. Yeah, it's what we think. And no, technically, yes, it's a thought, therefore it entered your mind, therefore you thought it, but it's not what you think. So this is the part that I was trying to just tell Scott, and he's like, don't make it that complicated. Because I had mentioned to him, it's like, well, you got to separate yourself from the thought. And he's like, don't make it that complicated. Just say to yourself, get out. Get out. And if that means get out, like go outside, get out, go move around. So he has a point, but it's not what, if he really went to that second layer, which is separate yourself from the thought, and then if he would have said to me, what the hell does that mean? Then you can say, well, you have a zillion thoughts. But what do you want to think? Is that what you want to think? Is you crashing into a wall what you want to do?
No.
Right? Because sometimes you're driving and you have this vision. I wonder what it would be if I fly off this Washington Bridge.
An intrusive thought.
Right? So obviously, do I want that? No. But did it enter my mind? Yes. But if I stayed latched onto it, and that's where
Well, I think his take on it works for some people.
Right.
It won't work for So I think a lot of people who experience anxiety, that method might be a little of a slippery slope because you start getting into a compulsive.
He's got his whole thing on slippery slope.
Yeah, it might be because you're getting into this almost a compulsion of telling yourself to get out, which you're commanding your mind. Let's leave this. Let's get out. Let's go do something else. That's when you're running away from a thought, when you're running away from a situation. People in anxiety, their mind makes a marker that this is really important. Henry said, "Get out when this happened, and let's move." So let's make sure we remind Henry even more about it. For the person who has a thought or is maybe stressed out about something, but they really don't have that anxious component in their minds, they will maybe be able to, that'd be more beneficial for them, right? For somebody from an OCD world or an anxious world, that can be a little bit of a hidden trap, like because you can't command yourself to stop thinking something, right? And I think he's very into the what is it?
He's a techie kind of guy.
No, with the mind. He's
hypnosis.
Hypnosis. That is a control technique. That and Dr. Russ Harris actually, with who wrote The Happiness Trap. If you ever read his book or listen to him on a podcast, he'll say a lot of times, he goes, "There's a place and a time where control techniques work." He goes, "But if you become dependent on that control technique, now you've gotten caught into a trap again." Because your mind is a lot smarter than we give it credit for. It'll realize how you're trying to manipulate the situation or manipulate it, and it just it'll keep you there. It'll keep repeating that theme to you because it must be important if Henry's saying get out. So I think it does depend on the person. It might work for a lot of people, so I'm not knocking it.
Yeah, I think it's everybody learns, or everybody picks things up differently. So what may work for me may not work for you,
Exactly.
and may work for Anthony, might not work for me. It's all different. But what I like about this is, if you recall, months ago, like many months ago, he took an attempt at this another way.
Who?
Scott Adams. Remember, we even talked about it on the show back then, where Scott Adams said, when you have an intrusive thought, I want you to think of your mind as a desktop in a computer. And he says, and I want you to think of that thought as an icon. And when I want to, I click on it. And when I don't want to, I don't click on it. But it's there. That's mindfulness in a nutshell, right? You don't force out your thought. You don't force out that part of you that really comes with the package, right? It just comes with the package, So you don't force it out, but you click on it if you want, and you don't click on it if you don't want. And that was a good, let's say, example or parallel. But I see where he's going, and it's kind of where we were going, which is just to help people understand that relationship between yourself and your mind, or what you think is your mind, or because we're all on this journey figuring shit out together.
The funny part is, the way you explain it, what you were trying to explain to him, the way he was trying to explain it to him, honestly, in my opinion, is easier. His is a more, it seems like it's easier his way with the get out, because it's just 2 words, get out and go. But for a different mind, maybe like yours, like mine, like our minds, that might not work because it brings up now, okay, get out, but now what? Okay, but it's back. Oh, so get out again. So even though he says, keep it simpler, and I was talking to somebody this weekend, actually, I was at a party, and I was talking to a family member, and she was asking me, she's like, you say it's easy. I go, it's easy once you realize it's not difficult. And that's kind of it's like a catch-22. It's like, okay, once you realize it's not difficult, it's actually one step. It's detachment. It's watching, allowing it to be there, and that's really it. Yes, maybe to build up to that, you do practice a few things, but that becomes there's not there, like you said before, almost like, okay, there's nothing else. That's it. You watch it, and you know that thought wasn't your thought, and you leave it there. And even though if you might feel some emotional, baggage behind it, whether it's a little bit of a shitty feeling, a little bit of anxiety with it, that's fine, whatever. But you just leave it there and you continue doing what you're doing. So it really like I get it, but I just don't. I don't think it's like when he says keep it simple. I actually think his way would be much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because my neural pathways aren't gonna fire that way. It's gonna say get out, and these are gonna light up even more and go, whoa,
But
what do you mean get out? Right?
it's just that not only is everybody different, but your train of thought may be different than everybody else's
Keep
train
going. I
of
just
thought.
want to
You know
hear
what I'm
something.
saying?
Yeah.
Like that might not resonate with you. It might resonate with somebody else. Maybe somebody else might say, "Get out works. I don't want to think about separating myself from a thought. I'll go outside. I'll take a walk. Okay, whatever works for you." But we go a little more in depth so that this sticks with you, and it's not something that you're going to be saying "get out" to yourself multiple times a day.
No, yeah, that's.
Well, in reality, aren't you trying to control your thought with another thought? How is that going to really process for you? If you can't control your other thoughts, how are you going to be intrusive with the get out thought? How is that going to actually work for you unless you separate the fact that, your mind and being aware of where of what's going on, all you're doing is telling yourself another phrase that you weren't listening to the first one. You were listening to the first one anyway. How do you control it? You know what I mean? That's all you're trying to do is control your thoughts with another thought.
Yeah.
It's a giant circle.
Well, I think
exactly. Well, that's well put. Yeah.
It's a little trap.
There's your happiness trap.
Right?
It's in a nutshell. That's what the book, The Happiness Trap, is based on. I mean, there's a lot. He explains a ton of things.
So chasing it.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, it's when you stop trying to control, you gain, which is it's so paradoxical to actually say that, right? So hold on, I let go of control, and you will gain more control, but not control where you get to control the narrative of what your mind thinks. Control in how you want to live your life. That's the control you gain once you tell your mind, dude, think what you want to think. That's great. I'm not going to try to play this game of Pong or volleyball with you because it's a game you're going to lose every time, So.
Yeah, what we're referring to here is the intrusive thought. What we're referring to here is those stressors in your life. I mean, they're crippling, right? So, like, there are people that think a certain way. For example, me and the anxiety. I got anxious because I thought a certain way. I haven't stopped thinking that way, but I have become aware of letting go, of trying to not feel bad at the moment, because I don't have to feel bad at the moment. I just don't give it any credence because I'm separate from it. And that's where the importance of separating from your thought comes in.
Yeah, agreed.
Where I know that I am in a very precarious situation. I know that somebody is sick and it's bothering me and it's da 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 da. But there are ways to handle it that are more productive with yourself and with everybody else than fester, and when
most times people don't realize they're festering.
Yeah,
which is the issue. Is they're festering, thinking that they're trying to figure something out or they're trying to resolve this issue, but all they're doing is digging a hole in the sand that's deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's this. Oh, well, I got to think my way out of it. I have to. I could. Sometimes taking committed action is very important, right? If you're having an issue, you take an action to make your situation better, but you don't necessarily. You're not festering on that. You're not sitting there. Oh my God, what if? The what if scenarios. What if you say? Okay, what can I do right now to help rectify the situation? Something for work, something personally, whatever it might be. You take that action. Absolutely. That's what we have these intelligent brains for, is because we could use them to solve issues if they can be solved. The festering comes in where it's an unsolvable issue maybe, or not even an issue, but something created in our minds, like this fictitious issue that's not happening, that we believe is happening, or we think is going to happen, which might never happen. And here we are spinning our wheels ooh, and just burning rubber, burning rubber, burning rubber, burning rubber, and our body gets stressed. Most times that issue doesn't happen, and even if it did come to pass, all that festering did nothing. All it did was stress you out and put you in a lesser position to actually navigate that situation when it comes up.
Yep.
You know?
I found there was more control in letting go of control. You know what I mean? The more
Yeah.
you let go of those intrusive thoughts and that control, you let go of that grip a little bit, and sooner or later, it's not as intrusive anymore. It doesn't bother you as much anymore once you start to let go of having to try to control those
Yeah.
thoughts.
You don't have to like them.
No, but once you let go of them, that's
Mhm.
where the power is. That really is where the power is. And once you start practicing that, you'll see that it becomes a technique like John and Henry have come a lot closer than I have. But it becomes a technique that almost serves itself. It kind of works for you.
Well,
You don't have to concentrate on those things that bothered you.
100%.
Yeah, that's the point.
it becomes your new operating system.
Yes, exactly. You're updating your operating for sure. You're updating your operating system. Let's be honest. We're all running on Windows 95 here. Am I right or wrong?
Some of us are still on pen and paper.
Yeah, some of us are on Commodore 64. You know, for who's watched this, who knows, who know what that means. But you know, in reality, that's you have to. You're right. That's a great you know, analogy. Update your operating system. We've grown in life. Things have changed. Things have happened in our lives that bother us supremely. But we gotta learn that those little bugs on the operating system have to be squashed out and let go, so the operating system can run like it's supposed to.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
I'm
of
a computer science major, so once you said that, I just started.
Yeah.
I jumped in.
I'm trying to think of the intro sound to Windows 95. I can't think of it.
Oh,
Do 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 do.
Is
Something like
that it?
that.
Something like
Oh,
that?
something like that.
That was a weird something. Anyway, no, but those are great examples. I mean, we've mentioned them before, but they are great examples. Sometimes people need that visual to
yeah.
understand a
And
little better.
and
Right?
and you know, not to introduce something new, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not. And
You're not?
I'm sure not yet. You know me, I do everything. I'll get there. I'll be a doctor, sir. I'll be a bilingual doctor. Uh, you know, there's data out there, and you can check it, but there's the issue of how much you run your mind ragged that then trickles down onto your body through negative chemicals, negative, just even stress that'll just cramp your muscle, cramp your nervous system,
Yeah.
really do a number on you to a point that, you know, there is data, and I'm not going to quote, I'm not going to cite it because I'm not a doctor, and nor do I even care to go look it up, but I know it because I feel it. There's data that all this stress on your body can actually provoke some sicknesses.
No, listen, I'll give you the data. There's no data. We're examples of it. There was a point in time in our lives where we didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Physically, you couldn't. You were just paralyzed. You had no energy. You were just zapped of everything. You're like, why even get out of bed today? And yeah, that's a lot of physical and chemical, you know, imbalances going on in you,
That's
created by you.
That is a powerful example. That's exactly right. So we don't even have to get sick. We don't have to get cancer.
No.
Just for the simple fact that it's true. Like the reason we do this is obvious. We've all been there. You know, we've all been there, and we know that you've been there. And you know, there's a difference between being there and not sharing with anybody, but we've been there and we share because we've managed to kind of crawl out and go, wait a minute, hold on. There's a lot going on here that you have control over. And let me explain. You don't have to think that you are this thing. You don't have to, because the thought entered your mind and it scared you, as you have alluded to many times in the past. Well, that's the job of the ego, is to kind of scare you, is to kind of pull you in different directions. You don't have to go along for the ride. When we go along for the ride, that's where we cripple ourselves, and that's where you can't get out of bed sometimes. And sometimes it's deeper than that, you know. Sometimes it's suicide. Sometimes it's, you know, this is it. This is the end. It's amazing what this, and I point to here, if it's here, you know, right? This is the quintessential here. I don't know where it takes place, right? Does it take place? You know, but
Good.
that is the whole purpose of this show, and the whole purpose of us, you know, preaching, professing, is that it doesn't have to be that way. And for a lot of people stuck in their minds, they can't even understand that this exists. As I mentioned to you, and I'll stop now because I'm hogging the floor. But I mentioned to you when I walked in that office, and there was somebody there, and again, 5 random people in an office. I am aware. So, you are aware. You are aware. So if you walk into a situation, you have different eyes. You have a different filter on life. You have a different universal lens that you view life through, and you can see the majority of people around you are not aware, not awake. They're not conscious of that they are separate from their thought. They think their thought is them. And I'm watching how they act, and I'm watching the office setting, and how I began to, the conversation just naturally led down this path. I began to talk about awareness, mindfulness, and one of the ladies there, I hope she's watching, it hit her. Like, it really hit her. She goes, "I'm going through stuff right now." I was like, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna get those moments where you're gonna run into somebody. It's gonna resonate with them. It's really gonna resonate with them, and that's the whole point of us doing the show. Where we've done whatever 70 something episodes at this point, is to hopefully reach out to those people and have them understand. And it could be a tricky topic at times. I understand that. You said the word ego before. We've spoken about the ego so many times, right? And I was listening to a podcast from Eckhart Tolle this weekend, and he made a really good point, which makes so much sense. And you wouldn't, in order for the ego to survive, so what you think your thinking mind is, it needs to have an opposite of it. So remember the episode we did about patriotism? No,
Yeah.
he wasn't in that. No, you.
It was like
two episodes ago. He actually used the same exact example, saying, and this is how we got to talking about how the ego needs the other. He goes, you could love your country and you could, respect your country. He goes, but when you identify with it, he goes, that's when the egoic mind takes over and we are better. We need. He said, but how does that we even survive? He goes, that identity as me only exists if there's an identity of another on the opposite side. So any kind of thought that you have only makes sense, especially if you identify with an intrusive thought, if there's an opposite. How can I be this horrible person that would think this? It means there's got to be the opposite. The opposite of that is a person who wouldn't think this. So if you even think about it that way, all of a sudden you get to pull back and you start to see how the mind is working, right? It's not trying to tell you this is what you are. It's basically just comparing examples of what it's learned, the way it processes things. And it kind of shows you that, do I really need to take it that serious, right? So my egoic mind only exists because there's an opposite to my egoic mind. There's an opposite to good and bad. Good wouldn't be good, right? We won't be able to use the word good in life if we didn't have a definition for the word bad.
You're right.
If everybody on this planet was blue, right? We all would color blue. Everybody was the same color. We wouldn't have the color blue. We just would be. That's it. This is what we would be.
Right.
So like that opens up a discussion to language and identification and how it all works. But it all comes down to one very simple thing. This thing in our minds, in our brains, in our heads that's so wonderful and creates all these beautiful things, if left to its own devices, it is very, very exhausting, very captive,
Anti-productive.
Yeah, anti-productive. So I love that example he gave. One, but it resonated because once I heard him say the whole thing with the patriotism in the country, I was like, holy shit. I said, we just talked about this a week ago, right? And I was like, but it makes so much sense that doesn't work if there's not something on the other side, right? And we've talked about language, good and bad, right? How, well, what's good, what's bad? Are they not just opinions? They are opinions. Your opinion of one is my opinion of another. Which one's right, which one's wrong, and you start to realize how life is so subjective to how do you want to look at it,
Right. And the only reason we can talk about it productively is because we separated ourself from the feeling, from the thought. Because I'll mention what we mentioned on the show. I consider myself ultra patriotic. Like if I sit here,
not you.
yeah, like if I sit here and explain
He's got a shirt that says 1776. I think he's
So
like,
like, so
Does
like,
anybody know what those numbers mean?
yeah. So I consider myself, also ultra patriotic in a way that I can go down a unaware rabbit hole. I'm aware.
I've never seen that side of
You
you.
see what I'm saying? I'm aware. However, once you like imagine like this, I'm living proof that this is a skill that can be learned and can be done. I mean, again, I was anchored into my feeling. I was my feeling. But now that I can, let's say, objectively say I can separate myself from that thought, I can sit here and have a conversation with somebody that has the opposite view, and I don't have to be
That's a nice sound.
because I'm not separated from the feeling. So, like again, political views, same, right? I'm on one side, you're on the other. Okay, well, before I was so attached, so unaware that I would just, I would see that they're foaming at the mouth. Well, you want to see foam? I'll show you foam. And, that's not productive. It's also a good life lesson, and you could apply it to any realm of your life, work, friends, whatever. You're going to be with friends. And when you're with friends, you love their companionship, and you love hanging out with them, right? Let's go with us, right? So we're at the baseball field, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, you come out with some comment on my political guy that your political guy is superior. I have two choices here. I have many choices, but I have two choices. John, are you insane? Like, do you have a thinking brain, bro? How could you, in your right mind, are you blind? Are you not seeing?
It's a lot of conversations that go that way too.
That's very normal. But knowing knowing this skill, you wouldn't say that. You still have your feeling, but you wouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
Going back to the foot on the armrest, you have your feeling.
Yes. That was Mr. Lisi's example.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people didn't get to hear a lot of that.
You have your
Well,
feeling.
we mentioned it.
No,
You and I did, yeah. Yeah.
We mentioned it in our podcast.
We mentioned on the never aired one that we did.
It's crazy. They were talking about that on Fox News this morning about a lady throwing her hair over the headrest to where now the TVs are in the headrest, and now you can't watch your TV. And
You just take the scissor and cut right across.
I saw a lady put gum in the hair but I also people putting their seats back. That's a big discussion. Also, is that intrusive to other people? I paid for the seat; it reclines. Why can't I recline it? And then some people are like, "Well, it's intrusive to people behind you." And so what do you do? It's
those are good examples.
Yeah, you try. So that's a great question. Anthony just said, "What do you do? How do you handle that situation?" Right? And we've debated it. Not all debated. We've spoken about this on the show a couple of times. How do you handle that situation? Well, there's really only two paths: the mindful path or the fuck you path. Which one's it going to be? And a majority of people on planes, because they're already in a tube in the middle of the air, most people don't like flying. They're under stress already. They're all wound up. They just want to get what they got to get. The mindful path tends to go out the window, and most people very, immediately get very aggressive, right? So which path do you take? Which is going to be the most productive path for the benefit of humanity? For myself, I would always say, and we had this discussion in the truck that time, right? We spoke about it. You take a mindful path to it. You ask politely, you have a discussion with the person, and you don't take it personally that they're doing what they're doing, because that's what the ego is going to want to do. It's going to say, again, how does the ego survive? How dare you do this to me? If the ego wasn't there, it would be, well, this is an inconvenience. Sir, do you mind? And that's where we're kind of
that's the advanced course.
The
beginner course is, well, they know they threw it back. The only person they would disturb is me.
Absolutely.
So it's 100% an attack on, not an attack, but
That's your ego taking it. Your ego's making it
ego's the right word.
You. No, so the ego is a thinking mind, right? The ego is actually, people think ego is this, like, I'm going to use Donald Trump, because there we go. There you go.
I'm the best at everything, yeah.
Right? I'm the best at everything. I make no mistakes. That's not ego. That's like mainstream, like, life has kind of developed ego. The ego is actually the mind itself. And the mind can only discern things by having an opposite to it. It could only say, well, you're doing this to me, so that means I'm taking this personal. If I don't, for me not to take it personal, it means you're not doing this to me. This is just happening. I don't. What in the situation doesn't have to be something that's enjoyable. You can discuss to remove it. You can discuss to resolve it. But it only becomes personal because the ego wants to make it personal. Says, how is this? How dare is Anthony putting his foot on my arm?
That's the advanced class, bro. You're going to have to get up to episode 500 to get to that, because I don't think Henry and I are fully there yet. I know I'm nowhere near that. I can understand and separate myself from the emotion of maybe losing my mind instantly and maybe get angry and then pull back and go, let me start off with asking this guy to move, or remove the hair. And then you go from there.
So you're
that's step one.
So you're confusing. You're right. And what you're saying, you're right. But you're confusing the automatic thought that's going to come up with how you respond to that thought.
Well, isn't part of it that mindfulness is the separation?
It's a separation, but it's not the stopping of that mindful thought. Buddha had, I'm sure, many intrusive thoughts. Jesus had many of, are you kidding me? Thoughts. God, how dare you? Like he yells at his on the cross. Why have you forsaken me? Like pissed at God for why he's putting him on the cross. So to have the thought is one thing, and that's an extreme example. But to have the thought is one thing. So I can have the thought when I see the foot go, what the fuck?
You piece of shit.
My ego's gonna scream in my head. What the fuck? And then my heightened awareness is gonna see it and go, excuse me, sir. Would you like to move your foot, please? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Well, I agree with you. Unless somebody's swinging at you, it's always better to take the first step of how can I resolve this?
Absolutely.
Peacefully.
Unless you're being attacked. I mean,
that's a whole other story.
Sorry, right?
But why be the guy who starts the problem? Okay, if the problem comes to you, then the problem comes to you. But
why be the guy who starts the problem?
Meaning that those intrusive thoughts, you go along with them and give them a chop to the neck.
Oh, okay.
I mean, meaning why don't you try to talk to the person initially, and not let those intrusive thoughts win. That's my point.
When you're in full command, then the question you ask yourself is, do I want to make a problem of this? 9 out of 10, no. So because you don't want problems in life,
and it doesn't mean. Well, this is a huge. It doesn't mean because people are going to interpret it as, well, that means I'm being weak.
I'm thinking I was going right there in a second. I was saying, we are still all men. I think it is purposeful for us to have the ability to defend ourselves and go to violence if necessary. But that necessary is a small margin. Can I be brought to violence? Yes. And do I want to be? No, I don't ever want to be brought there again.
That's human nature.
Yes, but to have that in your back pocket is what is not necessarily a bad thing. Not using it initially and going with mindfulness and trying your best to, resolve it peacefully, I think is the first way to go.
I think the only way, and I hate to use the word violence, the only way, this is really the only word you could use, right? The only way violence is ever appropriate is if you're physically...
If violence is brought to you.
But brought to you in a way of not verbal violence.
No.
Not inconvenience violence.
I don't consider that violence verbal.
Right? Not inconvenience violence like my foot's on my armrest.
Yeah.
Or your foot's on my armrest. Yeah. Or your hair's on my chair. Or you called me an asshole.
Agreed.
Or you made fun of my sister. Or you don't like who I like.
No, that's not violence.
That's not... Because people, verbal, for them, verbal is fucking, you're attacking me.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Because people confuse, I know you.
Yeah.
People confuse violence and verbal abuse with attacking. And attacking for them is violent. You're attacking me. I must whoa. You ever hear this as a kid, sticks and stones, I break my bones?
Especially in today's day and age, everybody's offended. Everybody's hurt by what you say. I'm triggered. I don't agree with that.
Even if you are triggered by something somebody says, I'm triggered by a lot of things.
What does triggered do, though? What triggered causes another reaction.
I'm triggered by a lot of things people say.
But you're mindful. It's different.
Yeah, okay.
People who are triggered, who don't have that ability that you have.
Or I should say my automatic thoughts are triggered, yes.
Yeah, but you don't react to them.
No.
Most other people in the world would.
I mean, perfect. By all means.
No, but you have listen, You have the ability to separate yourself from your thoughts and realize what's coming up. It's like slowing down time. It's like slowing down time a little bit. It really is. To be able to process what action you might take and where your brain is trying to take you and go, I don't like that part. We're going to go a different way. That is the true power of what, these guys are trying to teach. And I'm trying to learn a little bit more of. Listen, I'm just dipping my toe in this water. And I kind of think it's a good idea to be able to process these thoughts and not instantly react to them as we normally would. Am I, emotionally,
But like,
Going
back to your comment, for sure. I mean, for sure, I can't disagree with you at all in that you have the ability to create violence in your back pocket, and we should never lose that.
No, Dr. Jordan Peterson said that himself.
We don't. Nor do I even suggest or dance around it. We're men. And I'm talking at the basic, not, you're a guy who goes to, no. A basic level, we're cavemen men that we know, we feel, we protect the cave and everybody in there.
Who's we?
As men, right?
So
the quintessential.
Yeah, right. But even yeah, finish now.
The quintessential men. But just like gun ownership, is just in case. We don't go around,
twirling it on your finger.
We don't go around showing our gun. We don't go around saying, I got a gun, so you better shut the fuck up. Just how we don't do that. Same thing is for the act of violence or the ability for me to kick your ass if you step out of line. So there's that, which is an extreme. But then there's everything else. So again, because we pick on this example, I'm in the airplane. Guy next to me put this ugly ass foot there. Inside, like, look at this shit. But is that how I want my day to go? Is that how I want my interaction to go? Is that me? Is that who I want to be? Be that guy who goes, fuck is your problem, bud? You got, fuck, bro. I don't want to be that guy. Could I? Yeah, sure. I'm sure. But I want to be a more mindful person. Be like, I'm sorry, sir. I get it. You probably didn't do it on purpose, but if you don't mind, because it's kind of in my. Thank you. Appreciate that.
My point actually was if the guy stands up and turns around. And grabs your shirt. You have to be able to have that in your back pocket. That's all I meant. Not the fact that it would go bad just on you asking him to move it. Not like that.
Another matter, which is don't mistake my niceness for weakness.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Al Capone. We're quoting Al Capone.
What's
Al Capone?
That's Al Capone.
Yeah. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Okay, well,
it's all right. He was only indicted 3 times. Trump was like 40. It's all right. Yeah, he's a lot worse than Al Capone, so according to people.
If the Al Capone example fits, and it's true, right? Because many times somebody could mistake your kindness for weakness because
there's even a ton. And while everything you guys are saying is on a practical, and this is where sometimes maybe it gets a little. This is where you go to the next level of life. On a practical level, you're both absolutely right. 110% absolutely right. Because we live as human beings, these are our bodies, and these are our bodies. This is what we have to work with. And if we have to protect ourselves, we protect ourselves. I understand that. You take it to a different level, but that's still a heavy dose of identification that I am a man, and this is how I must act. I am a woman, and this is how I must act. I am a this, and this is how I must act. And I get all of that. Now, not to say that if somebody doesn't attack me, I don't defend myself. But I don't identify with even being I don't know. It's gonna sound weird.
As a protector of the family, are you not?
Well, hold on a second. I'm trying to dance around saying something that's gonna be interpreted the wrong way. Yes, I'm a man. I identify as a human being, meaning I know I'm a human being. I know I'm a man. I'm physically a man. I have the attributes of a man: strength, blah 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 blah, looks, all that stuff. Right? I get that. I don't identify with this is how I have to be because I'm a man. Maybe that makes more sense.
I'm
not trying to see the whole he, she, he, then. That has nothing to do with this.
Can I throw a wrench in that for a little bit? If somebody approached your family and all 4 of you were together and was in a threatening matter, would you turn to Julie and go, this one's yours?
No, that's what I'm
Okay, I
saying.
know, but I
No,
mean,
what I'm saying
in the
is,
family type environment,
no,
or I'm
I,
saying you are the protector.
I agree. I
It's okay
agree.
to.
On a practical level, that's what I would do. Yes. What I'm saying is on a higher level, which is where that separation really comes. I don't identify with being. I don't identify with this is a man. This is how I have to be. If this is what's required from me at this moment, I will do it. Because I protect my family, of course, 110%. Not going to turn to my wife. Well, it depends on who your wife is.
He's not that.
Your
He's
wife
not
might be
that big.
your wife might be able to kick somebody's ass and be like this, honey, go for it.
Julia, he's not that big. Take this one.
I don't walk. The point is, I don't walk around saying, and I think you might have been catching, you might have been understanding what I was trying to say before. I was saying, well, I am a man, and this is how I must be, and because once I start even acting like that, what am I doing? I'm forging an identification with that, and when you're, if you're not aware, if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention, it's very easy for the ego to grab control of that and now says, this is who you are. Don't you dare come off this line. This is who you are. This is who you are. So your initial reaction is going to be one of that hard stance before that mindfulness actually kicks in. So it's saying, yes, I'm a man. Yes, I'm a protector of my family. Agreed, 1,000%. Yes, I would. Somebody attacks. Yes, of course. 2 nights ago, a cop rang my doorbell because we had a garage door open, 3 o'clock in the morning. Right? My doorbell rings at 3 o'clock in the morning 2 nights ago. I wake. You know when you wake up, you thought you heard a ring. I'm like, and then I hear ding dong again. I open my windows. I see a car parked outside, but I can't tell if it's a cop car. It looked like a Ford Explorer. So I'm like, what is that? Right away, I get up. I tell my wife. I say, I go get the kids. I go stay in your rooms. I was gonna go downstairs and what's what? I don't know. So yes, like, does that kick in? It kicks in when it's needed, but I don't like identify what ended up being a cop saying your garage door's open. I was like, well, that's very nice. You scared the shit out of me. Thank you very much. But I don't say I'm a man and this is what a man does and this is what I could act like a man. I could be a man.
How do you feel? Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this topic, and he feels it's good to have that identification. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have that kind of identification.
So what happens if you could? What happens if this is where I don't disagree with Dr. Jordan Peterson. I hear a lot of what he says. I listen to him a lot. There's a lot of things I agree with, a lot of things I don't, because he doesn't have that separation a lot of times. He doesn't have it. He does and he doesn't. Like he has an agenda, I guess, and I get it, right?
He's a commercial being, right?
He's a commercial being, and that's what sells. And he does say a lot of great things, by the way. I could be what he says. Exactly. Be that male, that guy, protect. Have the heart of a lion, the whatever, something of a tiger, but the heart of a monk. There's a saying, right? I
It's
forgot
better
what.
to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah, exactly. So I could be that, but I don't have to identify and saying this is what I am. But I could be that, because what that does is it frees up space in my mind to say, whoa, I know if needed, those attributes could be there. But I don't need to say out loud or to my family, to anybody, I'm the protector of this, I am this, I am this. When I start saying I, there's a heavy dose of identification there. And that's where we start to form these identities. And that's where the ego quietly does this. He's not paying attention. You're a protector. You protect your family. Before you know, you're walking around, I protect my family. I protect, and we use this as an example. We're talking about, I protect my family. And before you're done, I protect my family. I'm a fucking man. Oh, I'll kick your ass if I have to, but I won't. Okay, it's great. And I agree with all of that, but I don't have to say it. I don't have to be it. And it's not to knock what Dr. Jordan P is saying. That's what I said. Now I'm taking it to the level above.
Yeah, that's a way advanced class.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I could see.
I understand what you're saying.
It only came up
Take time
because
to get there.
it only came up because I mentioned the basic, attributes of, but just because I gave you that opinion doesn't mean I walk around with that identity.
Exactly. I think that's, yes, well, you got to it in 10 seconds. Good job.
I don't walk around with that identity, right? I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
Like I don't, so like at least I don't feel I do. But
No.
that's mindfulness.
You've never come to me and showed me your gun and said, John, this is
Well, I had no reason. But like that's the whole purpose of mindfulness is that you have a choice. You have a choice as to how something is going to affect you, what you're going to give power to, you know. So if you
I
give,
like that.
right?
Yes, what you're going to give power
If you
to.
give power to the negative thought, if you give power to the guy next to you who's putting his foot there, you're giving up power and you're putting this emphasis where you don't want it to be, you know? So
Agreed.
that's where this tool of mindfulness comes in. That's where this tool of separation of thought. But all the other stuff, just because you separate your thought from the feeling, doesn't mean you're not human.
No, that's very important, and that's the whole human aspect of it, of like what Anthony was saying before with Dr. Jordan Peterson is yes, sure, that's the human aspect of it. As a male, as a male, and the male of your household, the patriarch of your household, right? To use the language, yes, sure, that is your duties, I guess, right? That is what you're tasked to do is to protect your family. But to walk around with that identity is something very different because that's the ego now putting a label on you, going,
Right.
I am John. I am. Here you go, Henry. Don't forget it. You are. I'm not to say you own a gun, but you are, because you made that example. You are a gun owner, and you're going to be a proud gun owner, and the world needs to know you're a proud gun owner. You don't back down from being a gun owner, right? Tell them I'm not going to use it, but I'm a gun owner. Whatever. I'm a pet owner. I'm whatever. You can be whatever you want to be, right? I'm a save the whales. I don't know, whatever you want to put. You can put anything on this label right here. I am a save the whale guy and make an enemy of somebody. I am a gun owner and make an enemy of somebody. I am a monk and make it. You can make it whatever you want, and you're going to have, watch this, we'll circle back. The ego needs the other, right? So I could be the patriarch who defends my family, who told my wife and kids, get the kids, stay in your rooms. I don't know what's going on. Without walking around, well, actually with a label, and I'm not saying any of you guys walk around with labels, but just for people out there, that's where that whole thing comes is, I am this.
Carried a gun for 25 years.
Yeah.
Carried off duty. Nobody ever knew. I
Yeah.
never presented myself in a way where I had more power than the next guy because I had. As a matter of fact, I was more likely to turn around and walk away
He was
knowing.
a cop. We don't know.
Sorry, make that clear. But more times than not, I would be the one to check my ego and walk away because that would only bring more
in
chaos.
that line of work. That line
That
of
can
work.
only bring more chaos.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking about if you're off duty and you see something happening and you're like, do I get involved or not? Like, it depends. Is there a real victim there, somebody who needs my help, or are these two jamokes
Yes.
just arguing? And if I interject, now one pulls a knife, all of a sudden I pull a gun, now you're involved.
Now you're
Now
involved.
that's, even though you may not have done anything else other than try to step in and be a nice guy, you instantly became involved, and
Yeah, well,
it's a bad place to be.
so that
I've learned lessons,
yeah, career-wise, I can understand that, right? That's a tough, and that's part of life, right?
But again, that ego one, hey, I got a gun on me. I could handle
which
this.
is great.
No, check yourself because it's going to be a lot worse if you get in there sometimes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who do that, right?
Oh, I've seen it a million times where people,
Cops who think they're
their
doing.
careers are ruined and they started off with good intentions.
What do they say? The path to heaven is the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah,
right.
No kidding.
Yeah.
and we mentioned in the past of how, you know, if you introduce mindfulness in schools, you'd have this coming up. I think you could introduce mindfulness in police forces, in any, you know, situation where you have,
I'm sure there is.
where you
some
have
sort of...
a deadly weapon amongst civilians. I mean,
I'm sure they do it different ways. I might not call them mindfulness, but whatever. I'm just training.
Yeah, you know, they have the de-escalation and stuff,
which is
like
basically
that.
mindfulness.
It really
De-escalation is mindfulness.
It really is.
See the thought, understand. We bring it down a notch. We don't bring it up a notch.
Because in their line of work, like, you're going to be tested, and you know,
Consistently.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, remember, like we always say, right? So we talk about mindfulness,
especially in the city, maybe in the suburbs.
And let me tell you something. I've lost my mind on things instantly where I went, I really wish I would have pulled back on that and thought about it for a second.
Yeah.
And then there's times where I really thought about stuff and I went, I probably should have reacted quicker. There's a fine. There is a comfort zone in there where once you get good at it, it'll click a lot faster.
Yeah, something like that is one of those examples where honestly this practice for people in any kind of and I would use police because I'm talking to anybody who carries weapons and has that a figure of authority where they can control, right? Like cops or even armed forces, National Guards, anybody who's kind of in that.
Your life is in their hands.
Your life is in the hands to like this world. And it actually, beyond that, it helps them deal with the unfortunate traumas that come along with that kind of job, right? You're going to see things that the school teacher, the contractor don't see. Even if you're not technically involved in it, you're going to pull up to something and you're going to see something. And yeah, there are traumas with that. So this mindfulness, awareness, spirituality, watching your mind, whatever you want to call it, consciousness, awareness is paramount in people who've been in that field, are in that field, have been, who want to go into that field, to have that separation. And I'm sure, some even medical people, in the medical field, EMTs, doctors who have to see some, just crazy things, need to have the separation to not to attach to that and have their emotions take over.
In an already high stress, high anxiety job, imagine being aware and having mindfulness where you could just take that tension down and let things
enough to where you could process things.
But I can't tell you how many years the anxiety and the stress would keep me up at night with things I was concerned about, or things that happened on a job that maybe I should have done differently or whatever. But yeah, that stuff will keep you awake. So imagine having techniques like this and I'm not the only one. This happens to almost all of us.
Have they ever? I mean, you've been out of the force for a few years now, but have they, even when you were there, did they ever have any kind of?
I went to a psychiatrist once in my 20-something years, and that was after I shot somebody.
And
they made me go.
And did they?
Less than 10 seconds.
I'm not asking. I'm not asking like what you guys spoke about, but did they apply any kind of?
I'm going to tell you what he said. How do you feel about, what's your feelings about what happened? And I said, well, he was trying to kill me, and I was better. And that was it. And he goes, do you have any trouble with this? And at the time, it was so soon, it was white and black. You didn't have time to really go.
Your ego was saying we had to do what we had to do.
That's right. And now,
I'm not saying you shouldn't have or
no, I know what you're saying, but now, after you start to break it down, that's where the stuff is like, did I do it right? Did I have the people in the right?
That's why having it, like, especially, we'll use cops, because Anthony was an ESC sergeant for many years in the city. If besides whatever else it does, for people who are in that position, to have, let's just say, therapists at their disposal who are based in acceptance of what has happened, and that's where, PTSD, trauma, OCD, anxiety, while they feel a lot different, the formula to dealing with them all is exactly the same. It is based in acceptance, because you cannot change what you thought. You cannot change what actually happened in an event. You cannot change what you saw or what you heard, but you can accept it, realize that your mind is trying to process something, and move on and live a valued life. That doesn't change. Zero. It's baseline. That's what it should be based on. Not, unfortunately, he had to hear, and I'm sure the therapist was a nice guy. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Right. That was my first therapist. So how do you feel about that? And I was spiraling. The second therapist was like, I don't care how you feel. I'm not worried about how you feel. That's great. You can feel like that. I'm going to teach you how to accept those feelings. Right. Not change them. We don't try to change, because when you try to change, your mind's like, I don't want to change it, but that's not resolved yet. So I need to figure out why that's not resolved yet. Okay, let's spend here 20 years trying to resolve that. That's what we're going to do.
And with traumatic incidents, a lot of the stuff comes after, a long time afterwards, after your brain can really process what happened. And when you're in the midst of still working and so on, yeah, it's like, that's my job. That's just the way it is. And then as you retire and life goes on and you start to break down things, when your mind slows down and it's not done, you're hustling and bustling every day. John and I aren't as much anymore like you. When you slow down and you have time to yourself and you have a cigar in the backyard by yourself, that's when you start to break down things, because your mind is slowing down. It's not moving at 100 miles an hour.
Your mind's not active at that point. Your mind is not active in the doing mode anymore.
Yeah, that's the official.
Now it's sitting more in the being mode, and when it's in the being mode, it's not engaged in. I got to just get stuff. So people I'm looking for a word. Not compulsions. When you like a distraction.
Busybody? Busy work?
No. When you're looking to do something to get away from something else.
Oh, to mask it, to hide it.
To mask is another word I get in. But yes. So when you're working during the day as a cop, you're so engaged in what you're doing, you're masking what actually happened.
100%.
So people who have anxiety, this is going to go back to the beginning of the show. Sometimes it's amazing how we come right.
Seinfeld.
When we come back to the beginning of the show, when Scott Adams said, just get out. Get out and get busy. Get out and get busy. Why? because what's the word I'm looking? We're just gonna push this aside, suppress. We're gonna suppress this for now. What? Because we stay busy. Don't worry about it. We're gonna just don't worry about that. We're gonna stay busy. As long as we're engaged doing things, that can't bother us. Well, you can live your life engaged doing things, or eventually you retire.
Yeah, let me ask you something. You're
You
telling
slow
yourself
down,
to get
and your
out.
mind goes, remember this bag?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you get this
Yeah.
bag? Hold on. There
Yeah.
it goes.
There it is. Giant bag of shit right at your feet. Yeah.
What do we do with this now?
Yeah.
I said, what do we do with this now? And you're like this. Holy shit, that got big. Yeah. Well, you've been busy doing things for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been, and ready? Here it goes. Now the rock's rolling the other way. Now you got to deal with it.
Now,
Right?
by the way, throw get out on top of that bag, because it's telling yourself. It's almost like telling yourself the same thing that your brain is telling you, that you screwed up a job or maybe you should have done. It's another thought process that you're entering in. What makes you think that you're going to follow that one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the balloon. The balloon that.
And I get what he's saying. That might work for people who have little less anxiety, not at the middle or peak of anxiety. Maybe that might work, but I think if you got real anxiety, you're already telling yourself a million things. And those
that's why I said Dr. Russ Harris put it best. Those control. And if you ever read the Happiness Trap, he says, he goes, control techniques can be helpful if they're not becoming a distraction, a way for you to suppress, repress, to escape, to escape from. Because once you're doing that, then those voices, those thoughts, those images get louder and louder and louder. You have to allow them to be there. Yeah. There are times where, you can say, okay, listen, I had a little bit of a thought. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go do it. I'm just gonna go for a walk right now. Okay, that's fine. I'm not only saying you have to sit there with it all the time.
When you come home,
don't go for the walk with the intention of getting rid of it. Go for the walk to say, I'm gonna get up and just get out, because I'm not gonna sit here and fester. But if you want to come with me, you can come with me, right? It's that acceptance of saying, come with me if you want, and that's when your mind starts saying, well, this isn't very important. He's not paying attention to it. He's not feeding that wolf. Okay, whatever. And eventually, it doesn't feel as real anymore.
Can I change it? No. Put it on the leaf. Let it drift down the stream.
Right. Yeah, let it flow that stream. But you got to be willing to put it on the leaf.
Right. Yes.
And not go like this and go, okay, get away.
No.
Because the leaf might go.
Let it peacefully leave you.
But I don't want to go right now.
Because you can't control it. Why wrestle over it? Put it on that leaf.
Exactly.
I can't control this. Let's let it go.
Exactly.
And that leaf could come around again.
And then you might have to visit it again, but you could do the same thing.
Right. As long as you don't.
The tides could change and go back the other way. Absolutely. And if they do, you welcome it back. Hey, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, but don't engage with it and go, why are you back?
Yeah. No. So you go, I see you're here. Okay. Notice it's there. Acknowledge it's there. Yes, acknowledging the thought is healthy. Engaging it is different. Right. Acknowledging it is not pushing it away. Right? Pushing it away. No. Acknowledging it's there. That's why I say having like that kind of therapy or service for people.
You're right. We've been arguing about it for years.
People in police or armed forces or anything like that. Or even like medical fields, trauma fields.
In our line of work, people don't like talking to therapists and psychiatrists because if they get the wrong impression, then you get your weapons taken away and you're sitting at a desk for a long time until you can prove I'm not out of my mind. I just needed some help. And that has been the stigma attached to not just the NYPD, but all police departments. These guys need help and you can work them through. It doesn't mean they're going to go on, shooting sprees in the mall.
There's a difference between somebody who's dealing with anxiety or intrusive thoughts or, a little bit of trauma from something, and somebody who's engrossed and is believing what they're thinking and is becoming angry towards the world. That's where
you're relying on that one person's impression to make that decision. That's what scares people.
So that one person has to be trained properly. So it's like if I'm an OCD therapist and I go talk to a client and the client says they're having these intrusive thoughts about harming someone. 30 years ago, therapists who didn't realize that would report these people to the police. And these people were the most harmless people in the world. Like these are people who you could trust to hold a gun to your head. And they're scared deathless of this thought, this image that they had. It's their brain trying to protect them. They're not the problem, but people don't understand that. So if you don't have the right person in that chair,
You're right.
they can make the poor person's life, like instead of helping them, like they compound it. And those people for drugs, because now they need to escape it. They need to stop it because society's telling them you're a sick individual. You had a pedophile. You had a thought about being a pedophile.
Right.
And meanwhile, that poor person they had this image flashed in front of them. Watching Friends yesterday. And there was a scene where Chandler and Ross were talking, and they say, I said this would have been a great OCD commercial, where Chandler was having sex with Janice, and an image of his mother popped into his head. Ross, they were telling the story, like Ross wanted Rachel to dress up like Princess Leia. He's like, oh, that's great. He goes, let me tell you mine. He goes, you ever sex with a girl? Yeah. He goes, your mom pops into your head out of nowhere, and Ross looks at him like, oh, bro, that's disgusting. And Chandler's like, well, that doesn't happen? And I looked at my wife and go, oh my God, that's a commercial for obsessive compulsive disorder. If I ever saw one, I go, because that's exactly what an intrusive thought is. He didn't want to think of his mother, but his mind said, hey, how about this? Boom. Right? So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was trying to just jump in when you were talking about the, this stuff with the
Therapist.
therapist. Yeah, because a lot of states have red flag laws now too. And I don't think, you're talking to people who carry guns, red states, and you know what a red flag law is? That if John Emilio feels that Henry, I'm not saying you do, but if Henry carries a gun, John Emilio feels Henry hasn't been acting right lately, he can call the police, and the police come just take your guns, and then you have to go before court to argue that you're not a maniac. Things like that are what hurt, other people. Instead of maybe having a therapist or somebody speak to them properly. But these new laws now, in order to curb the 1% of people that might listen to those intrusive thoughts, they wrap everybody in it and go, we'll just pull everybody in the net, and then we'll figure out who that 1% is, or less than 1%, I should say. And that's just, and how do you think that makes Henry feel when John does that? You know what I mean? So
I get that. That's
a lot of the world is untrained in this, is my point.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to people who
need.
need help aren't getting it because of this stigma and how people jump on, well, Henry said this one day, and now John calls 911. They just take Henry's guns until they figure out what he meant.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? And
I don't know enough about the law, so I could tell you.
Well, I'm just giving you the bland of the law, but that's the same sense of, how people report each other and,
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more concerned with the, no offense to the poor guy who gets his gun taken away, but I'd be more concerned with the cop or the soldier or people like that who are
But that's the same concept, is what I mean, is that one therapist turns around and goes, I don't know about John, and then before they
therapist, not a neighbor or person who just randomly
hired by a police department, how good can the therapist be? I don't know.
The point we were trying to make before would be nice to have those proper, to have that proper.
I think we're going over.
Have the mindfulness.
To have that how mindfulness could be applied to that.
Yeah.
To that, and if everybody applied it, and I can't see how far we are on time. We got to be
10 over.
1 hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap it up then, because the laptop's not far away from me.
We need a clock. We'll put a clock in.
I have my watch. It was telling me it's 9:10, so I figured it's 1 hour and 5 minutes. Anyway, so applying mindfulness could be great. So, but
it's the tool.
It's the
tool, because I always say, so you've had regular therapy, and you got down to the bottom of it. Your parents suck, right? They suck. Now what? Now what? You're gonna walk around with my parents suck? Mindfulness. Okay, so what do you want to do?
You've experienced what you've experienced. That's it.
There's no going backwards.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? How do you want to go?
I mean, you could process trauma with a therapist. That's absolutely fine. And they're going to use a lot of acceptance techniques probably in doing that. And I'm not a therapist, but from what I've learned and what I've experienced in my life. But yeah, there is not, put it this way, and we'll wrap it up. There is not a avenue, a situation where it is not applicable in life. And there's two things that are certain in life. You will die, and mindfulness could be applied to everything and anything in life to make the situation Better.
3. And you're going to pay taxes in between those two things.
Yeah.
I know people who don't pay taxes. Not me, but I know people.
But if they owed it, they're in for it.
That's true. We'll call it 2.5.
There you go. Yeah.
Sure.
So, all right. I think we're good.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Hit it.
Yeah, I'll hit it now. Yeah. We'll just hit it up, wrap it up. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming
Thank you.
by. Hope everybody enjoyed the new setup. For me, Henry, and Anthony, we'll catch you guys next week. And that's it. Everybody be safe. Enjoy life. Be mindful.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Now you can
Hit
shut
it.
it.
Don, can we adjust where this camera is by any chance?
The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.